Dear Rentals Club members, I'm now joined by Adel Honti. Adel is in Hungary right now, and she will be talking with us today about her business, Honti Management. She will be describing to us not only her activity with different properties, portfolio of properties in her home country, but as well she will be giving you tips that you can apply for your own business right now. She has an amazing background. She's a World Cup winner in paragliding, female World Cup winner for paragliding. So it's an amazing background. It's an amazing background as well because it means that I think we chatted a bit another day, and she really told me that she may not be the best at sports or things like this, but she's really good at dealing with fear. And what was very interesting, you're going to see this today, it's going to be very interesting as well, is that when the crisis hit, she was able to say, okay, let's focus on what the actions that need to be taken now, and let's come up with a plan till September. So we'll be covering this. We'll be covering how business was like before the crisis, what it is like now, how she adapted her business, cutting costs, going to long-term stays, negotiating with the homeowners. That's a very interesting point here. And as well, something a bit great, because Adele is the kind of entrepreneur who's always willing to try out things. She's doing two things right now. She actually registered as a host, providing online experiences on Airbnb, and she actually tried out one herself as a guest. And also, she's actually also starting helping other property managers with online consulting. So we'll be touching upon that as well. And without further ado, Adele, hello, how are you?
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me. It's really an honor.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you, and it looks like a fantastic place behind you. Where are you right now?
I'm in my living room, and it's so sunny that I tried to close down the window, but still there is quite much sun coming in, so the weather is just so perfect in Hungary at the moment.
And did I get it right from your background? Because you have this, I think, at least double hat, if not more, but you are both a champion. You were training for a big championship that was supposed to happen now. At the same time, you have this property management business. So can you tell us about a bit of both?
Yes, of course. Well, the good thing about being active in sport and racing all the time is that all the methodology, what we learn in sports psychology, it can super easily just be transformed into business. There is just one kind of psychology, there's just one kind of human brain. So if you train yourself to maximize your performance and on the other hand, assess risk in a correct manner, then in a situation what we are all going through right now, it's not much different than going into crazy turbulence in the air when I'm flying over a ridge. And I can get into dangerous situations where I need to, assess very quickly. Is this a real danger? Am I in a possible situation where I might lose my life? And if so, panicking is the worst option what I can do. Because if I'm panicking, I'm not solving it. So thanks God that I've been doing it actively for so many years, because after a very quick panic, which hit me as well, I'm human, I was able to use my normal methods to calm myself down and get on track of trying to find solutions.
And so your business is Honti Management. Can you maybe go into what you usually do? I mean, I think also it's a family business. It's also a very interesting story. So we're curious to hear more about this.
Yes, of course. So I have a degree in law, but after a short period of practicing tax law, international tax law, I joined my friends and we established an incoming tour agency in Budapest, Hungary. And that's what I had done for over 10 years. And all the money, what I made, all the return of my investment, I invested it in real estate. And that's how I started with Airbnb. That's how I met this new business model. And it fascinated me immediately. And at that time, my brother and sister both worked for a big hotel chain. So they were super interested about it because it was so close to home for them. And I immediately realized that it can be a possible second business for me, and I can involve my family. My parents also got on board. They also invested in properties in Budapest. So that's how we started, with my property, with my parents' property, and then very quickly, mouth to mouth. That's the best kind of marketing there is. We got clients very fast. Our reputation spread. And we call it Honti Management because it's all the Hontis, it's my brother and my sister. My parents are also involved. Every weekend, every Sunday when we come together, you can never have a dinner at our house when we don't have at least a couple of minutes talking how it's going and whose property is performing better, my father's or my mother's. They love each other, but they are quite competitive. So they always ask us, is it my flat, Adel? Is it my flat which goes better? That's very sweet.
So is it a competitive genes in a DNA or something going on here?
In a very friendly manner, yes.
That's very interesting. And so how many properties do you have now, and who are, so there's your properties, but also there's properties that are owned by other people with a different profile, I think.
We have, within the family, we have about 5 properties, but we also do run properties for other owners. So altogether, we have 30 plus property. The number is shifting. We have now new properties coming on board, which is very surprising because, at the beginning of the pandemic, I thought that we are just going to lose clients and not gain them. But soon after, I realized that every rule, what was out there, even a long-term market, was just overridden. So many property owners realized that their tenants called them and asked for half price, or they were unable to pay. So some of the tenants moved out and properties became empty. And how do you rent for long term when there is a moratorium? You cannot evict someone who is not paying you. You need to find someone else. It's very hard now to do the background check. So we got clients because they called us and asked us for recommendation and our knowledge about the industry, what to do, how long it will last, all these questions, what strategy should I use? So that's what we are doing now, trying to diversify and moving also from the short term to a mid-term and long-term market.
So maybe let's go into the length of stay. It's a good segue, and I think what you can bring to homeowners right now is the ability to get bookings that are longer stays, right? So, and we're talking, I think, what stays that are up to 90 days, right? What's the idea? Is like because of regulation, tenant laws. What's your take on that? And what would be also recommendation, generally speaking, for people who think, yes, have to move into longer stays as well?
Okay, so how I started this, I told all my clients, all the property owners, that listen, this is a strategical, crossroad. You have to make a decision whether you believe in the short term, you believe in tourism, that it will bounce back or not. And I don't want to tell you what to do, but I can tell you all the information I have gathered. And I do believe that tourism will be back as it was back after the MERS or SARS pandemic or epidemics, or after 9/11, it was back very rapidly. Within a couple of months, the occupancy rates were back. I'm not talking about the revenue per available room, because prices dropped, but occupancy was getting healthy after a very short period of time. So it seems like that people do have a short memory when it comes to threat or fear. And that's what I told them. I gathered a lot of data and statistics, and I tried to show them, what the information is right now, what we have, and told them, you need to decide, because if you want to switch to long term, we can do that. But if you do believe that within a couple of months, maybe by September, October in Hungary, occupancy rates will reach the occupancy rates of last year. Maybe the income will not be there, maybe 50%, 60% in best case scenarios. But if you do believe that this is a scenario for us, then I do not recommend to switch to long-term and sign a contract for a year right now, because all the hard work, what we have put into optimizing your listing and building up your search ranking, it will be lost if we close your calendar now. This is one thing, the marketing, that we have to be early. We have to be there when it starts to build back. We have to target the domestic tourists as soon as possible, get some people to come. We are in the urban market, so it will happen later. Probably the vacation renters in the lakesides and outside of the city in hidden places like forest, these places already now have bookings because people just want to quarantine outside the city in a safe place. So those markets are not hit as hard. However, urban markets will come back a little bit later. They will start with domestic tourists, and then foreigners will come. And we have to be there right at the beginning. So I told them that. I also told them that at the moment there is a moratorium on eviction, which means that if you are a long-term tenant, your landlord cannot evict you if you cannot pay your rent. And that is a huge risk for us. So if I legally enter a lease agreement, then we have this risk, which is high now. Even if I do all the background check, if I call the previous landlord and ask for a reference, I ask the previous landlord whether this tenant paid every single time on time, if they made any damages. It's a good thing to know. However, even if I ask now 3 months bank statements and I ask an employment contract, everything can be written over tomorrow. If this person gets fired, then things will change. So when we talk about business development, then we talk about two things. One is getting more income, and the other is not just cutting cost, but lowering risk, and that's very important, the risk factor. And right now with long term, it's quite risky, and it's riskier than ever, or ever before. Not to mention that all the short-term properties, they hit the long-term market in the last 1 month. Historically, there was normally in healthy Hungarian Budapest long-term market, there was 10,000 properties and 14,000 short-term rentals. Now, just imagine all the 14,000, they went to the long-term market, plus hotels, which have apartments, not just rooms, but they have apartments. They also entered the long-term market. We've never seen this before, ever. This is new. So the prices in long-term agreements, they dropped to half, which is drastic. When I was consulting people about purchasing property and they were asking me how much money they can make, then I used to tell them that realistically 5% with a long-term rental, it's something, it's achievable. Right now it's not. So if you have bought a property just a couple of months ago and you have a bank loan, for example, and your tenant is paying you half or nothing, then it's the worst kind of situation you can be in. So what we have decided to do at this scenario is not to enter into a legal agreement, which is a lease, but stay on the short-term market. However, in Hungary, the laws allow us to rent for maximum 3 months, and we are using this gap. So we are renting now to tenants for maximum 90 days through short-term rental property sites. I don't want to name, but we all know there are several items. Okay. Then we are using mostly Airbnb at the moment, but other platforms are also available, and we are diversifying now. We are entering to sites we have not been used before. For example, Flatio, or in Hungary there is a long-term advertisement platform. It's called Ingatlan. So we are entering all these new platforms as well. And we sign a short-term rental agreement. If tenants book through Airbnb, we don't need to do that. We don't need to sign anything because it's viewed as a short-term agreement by accepting terms and conditions. Plus, on Airbnb there is insurance. If the tenants make any damages, we do not need to collect damage deposit, which is a huge plus for many, many tenants. So they can just book an apartment for a month or 2 or 3 on Airbnb. And Airbnb also has dropped the fees, as I noticed, for for midterm stays. So stays over 28 days now have lowered service fee.
Do you know how much it is nowadays? Or
how I calculated it, it's close to 10%, but it used to be 15% before. I mean, on the side of a tourist or somebody who a digital nomad and wants to stay. Or we have many families who just returned from abroad. They used to work abroad, and their job opportunities, are now finished or on hold. So they returned to their motherland, and they need a place to stay. And it's a compulsory quarantine of 14 days, I guess, all over the country. If you cross the border, you need to stay somewhere for minimum 14 days. But in many cases, these families, they chose to stay longer for a month or two because they don't want to risk the elderly parents or other family members.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting what you're saying, because a lot of our different, let's say, looking for the word in English for that, but fellow country persons are stranded abroad, right? And some point when borders reopen, they would have to come back. I was talking to a property manager in Bali. He has a lot of Russians, and they can't come back. It's very complicated. You have to be on some emergency list to go back to Russia. So they're just staying in Bali for the moment. I know a lot of French people are in some countries and they can't come back. It's tricky. But these people will have to self-quarantine. And it was also the case in Israel, I know as well, when Israelis could still travel, which has become difficult. Like there was a whole market for self-quarantining in Israel as well.
Yeah.
But before I go into the actual, because I think there's all other pockets of demand right now, but before I go into it, I want to go back to what you said, because it's very interesting for property managers, right? Because this is where you can see that you're thinking pretty right. It's very important, as you said, to stay on the platforms, because if you get your listing away on platform and put your listing back, say in 6 months from now, you'll be losing your search ranking, history, statuses, premier, partner, and verbal, or super host, or even just like the rankings. So I think it's a very good, actionable and concrete advice to stay on the platform, even not just don't pull away. So that's first very interesting. I liked it. And as well as you said that for everyone, know your, of course, local laws, right? You're able to spot that in your market, there's like a gap up into 90 days. So it's a good way to still do short-term rental, but on a longer term without getting into the leases. So I think it's another advice, which is, of course, your market better than anyone else. And that's also why also make sure that people who are on the market can share their things, because also what I noted from you is that as well, there's obviously Airbnb for longer stays, but also local platforms, right? That I can't recommend, but again, that people in the market, so talk to your property manager friends, they probably also know those platforms. So we talked about pockets of demand on the market. So there's people who had to come back, who had to self-quarantine, but there's also other people right now who are staying in Budapest, I think.
Yeah, there are digital nomads, for example, who have been traveling, and they stayed a couple of months in one city and then they went to the next. And now many of them are stuck here, actually, or they just realized going back to Italy, where they are from, or China, or France or Spain, it's not maybe the best decision, because right now in Hungary, there is a very low number of sick people, still around 1,500 only throughout the whole country. So compared to Italy, for example, maybe they can enjoy more freedom here, because we do have quarantine, but it means that you are advised to stay at home. But if you want to go out grocery shopping or to your workplace or help your elderly parents, then you can. And nobody asks you on the street. The police don't stop you and ask you, where are you going? What are you doing? So the city is empty mostly because people are sensible. They are behaving as we should. But we can go out, if we want to. So I sometimes go on a stroll in the evening when the city is quite empty, So we are allowed to do that and not facing fines. I guess it's maybe nicer. So for them, it's not the same. Not every country has the same rules.
Yes, and I was thinking on this point, Adele, is that, for example, I talked for this series with Filipa. She's a property manager in Portugal, and she's saying that actually hotels and apartment rentals are open in Portugal. There's just no demand, but it's open. What are the rules in Hungary at the moment?
Uh, they don't have to be closed by law. However, most of the hotels closed immediately, very fast. A lot of people were let go from their jobs, and most hotels closed for 2 months or 3 months, and they are using this period to renovate, to fix up the rooms and make them nicer. But unfortunately, a lot of people lost their jobs. Restaurants are closed, most of the city. So some restaurants are open, and I really like how some are handling this situation because, survival of the fittest, it's never about IQ, it's never about intelligence, it's always about your adaptability, how fast you are when you need to react. And there are restaurants, Michelin star restaurants, which shifted immediately within a couple of days. They stopped the normal operation and they started to do daily menus, and house delivery to keep the staff, because your staff is one of the most important assets you can have. And not every company owner looks at them at the same viewpoint. Some of us think that it's something what we need to cut easy and early, just to reduce the costs. I, on the other hand, always had that view that the knowledge what we have and the empathy and your best assets are your employees, even if you do have everything written down and you can just get someone new, and teach them fast. It's not the same. And I always invest in getting more knowledge. So my team, we constantly go out and learn and train more. So every single member in my team is now, I give them incentives to use this period when we have different kind of jobs now. We work on projects. But on the other hand, every week, the weekly meeting, I ask them, what have you learned in the last week? Like, tell me something, what research you have been doing and what you have been reading, because I want to know that they are using this time smartly as well, invest into themselves.
I think that Honti Management has a pretty lean model when it comes to staff and different tasks. So maybe can you describe the business model here in terms of staffing and
Yeah.
concretely what decisions have you had to make any tough decision on that side?
We do not have our own cleaning staff. I never wanted to have my own because I think that's one of the riskiest areas, because that's where we get most of the negative comments about, and there's not much to do about it. Very hard to motivate people when they are only inflow oriented, not outflow. Normally on the job market, you want to hire people who ask first, what do I need to do? What is my end product? Tell me what is my job about, and I'm passionate about it. If we click, then I will do my best to deliver, and then you can pay me what is due. This is the people I want in my team, and not people who ask how much will you pay first, and then I ask second, and what is the job? And it's super tough to find cleaning ladies or cleaning staff who have this type of mentality that my overall goal is to clean a property and get a 5-star review, and that's when I get paid. If you tell someone that I will give you a premium if you get a 5-star, if you get a 4-star review, you get your normal salary, but if you get anything less, then I don't pay you. And then they quit immediately. But you can tell this to a company owner. So if I work with some other company and they have the cleaning stuff, it's their job, how they motivate, how they supervise, how they do this. And I can have an agreement with them where I pay them in this methodology, not just per job what they have done, So I never wanted to have my own cleaning company because of this reason, that I want to always focus on one thing and be expert in that, like in sport. I can skydive, snowboard, I like wakeboarding. There are a lot of things I enjoy. But, there was a period in my life where I had to make a decision. Do I want to be mediocre in a lot of different sports, or do I become an expert in one? And when it comes to performance, then obviously the more hours you put into something, the better you become. So I want to be the best property manager there is, and not a cleaning manager and housekeeping manager, but a property manager. So all my team, we are working towards that goal. So it was easy for me when it comes to cutting costs, because I had to look over, what kind of cost I have in the cost structure. Well, there is a major cost, obviously, that's my stuff. And I told them that I would cut everything else before I touch your salary. And we still haven't had that discussion about giving them less. I'm trying to give them more jobs and keep them busy to keep up the morale and the ethics, to keep them productive. And that's my overall goal. And the other cost I have in the company is mostly softwares. I have a lot of different softwares I use for automating messages, automating pricing with smart pricing. So I have been cutting those methodically one by one. And other costs, taxation. And the government gave us a lot of help, with paying taxes. So unfortunately, we don't have to pay as much as we had to previously before. So that was my way of approaching this whole situation. After a short panic, realizing that my market is gone, and it was within 3 days, from the 14th of March to the 16th or 20th, all our bookings disappeared. As the border was closed, everything was canceled. So only August bookings remained, and some maybe for July, but April, May was gone.
So you came up with this emergency plan, but this emergency plan, you think has to last, you made it so it can last until when?
Well, I can operate for 14 months this way. So what I have done is, as I said, I checked the company books, how much cost I have, how much income I have, and I try to predict how much income I will have. And maybe I will have 10% of my normal income in best case scenario, renting properties for long term in these current prices. It's very, very small, but it keeps my team motivated. Every time there is a new booking for a month, like today we also got one, everybody is sending high fives and everybody's happy. And that's what I want. So I calculate with nearly zero income. And then now my costs are cut to less than half. Maybe I have 40% of my cost from before. And I always had 3 months. That's my basic rule, to have 3 months of operational cost on a separate account, no matter what. If something happens, then I need 3 months to redesign the company. And I was always thinking that maybe the government will just ban short-term rental in the city, and that's why I need these 3 months. Because then I can have a pivot, I can move to long-term market, or I can come up with a new strategy. But the pandemic surprised me as well. It was never on my mind. This will be the situation, but I had that money there. Plus, second, I checked my personal spendings and balances, and I have done the exact same. I have cut everything which is not necessary. Everything. I have sold my brand new paragliding racing gear. It was just so shiny. It was in the corner. I just got it. I bought it. I won the World Cup with it. That was the first comp I flew with it. And then I got qualified as a winner to the super final, which is the biggest event there is. And then once I heard that it will be canceled because of the virus, immediately within 1 or 2 days, I put my gear online and sold it. When before it went global and before other pilots realized we are not going to compete this whole season. I don't believe we will. So why do I need a shiny toy in my corner, when I'm not going to touch it? It's just vanity or emotional connections. I don't need it. So I sold it and I have the money now. I put it also separately aside. Also, I stopped paying everything, what I need to pay for government or common costs, or anything what I know that it's not going to affect that company. They are not going to go bankrupt. All my partners I'm paying, all my employees I'm paying everyone who I have a relationship with, and it's built on trust. But the government, the taxes will still remain, and I still have to pay them. I'm putting them on a separate bank account. And once this is over, with one click, I can forward all this money out. I can pay the common cost, I can pay the taxes, I can pay everybody.
So two questions, one remark and one question. Again, I'm really amazed by how you are systematic and going after. We're talking about both company finances and personal finances here. And I don't know if you know a book called Profitability First, but this book, Profitability First, is for entrepreneurs, and it's exactly describing what you're saying. Is that basically it's all about profitability, and they do advise to open a separate bank account with the money for, let's say, winter days. I'm trying to find an expression for bad days like this. So it's something that you implemented very early. And a quick question about the government and taxes. So obviously, in a lot of countries, these governments are helping or are saying they will postpone paying taxes. What's the situation in your own country, and what are you advising people? Are you still saying, I put the money on the side and I will pay the government later? You're like, well, government will probably forgive this. So what's your attitude towards government help?
Well, I always plan for the worst and be happy if it's better, but I make all my survival plans in paragliding as well. The worst is that I can die, and I definitely want to avoid that. And it's the same with my company. I don't want it to go bankrupt. This is not why I have been spent so much time building it. So I do everything within my power, thinking of the worst case scenario, how I would avoid that. And once I have figured that out, I can rest easy, because I know worst case scenario is not death. I will just fall on a tree with my paraglider, or with my company. We are just going to lose 1 year worth of income. But as long as we are close to zero and I can pay everyone, keep the stuff, or maybe I lose a little bit of money, maybe, I don't know, we go into a small minus, that's fine. So once I know the worst case scenario and I accept that outcome, I'm happy and I can live with it, then I can calm down and focus on the solutions and break it down. So I want to go here. How do I go there? I need to break it down to tiny parts, and then I make a plan. I put it into my task manager software. I put deadlines, I put priority, and then everybody knows what to do. And the team starts to focus on working out the solution, And that's the same with the government help, that I count on them not helping us at all. But they have been already helping us, and it's great. But it's not such a massive help. It's not like they are providing us any lost, income or grants. What they have been doing is reducing taxes, which we are all grateful for, because, it helps. But on the other hand, what they do is allocate a lot of money for marketing the city, marketing the country once this is over. But don't forget that we are not going to be the only destination standing in the start line. In this region, there will be Vienna, there will be Prague, Krakow, and so on, Bratislava. So all these Central European big cities, we are all going to line up at the same time and go with full gas. We just have to be smarter and better, I guess. And that's what we are doing, training, getting ready with the whole team for that moment where the first tourist can arrive. So we are working on our cleaning standards. We are working on maintenance. We are trying to fix every issue which was there ever mentioned by a client. And we put it also on a task manager, program, and trying to go one by one over and over and fix all of them. If properties had no washing machine before because it was not needed for short-term rental, we buy now. If there are any other thing, like they don't have an AC, then it's the best time to set one up. And also don't forget that many people have no more that busy schedule anymore. For example, painting the property, it was hard to find someone to come with a good price before. And now they're lining up for jobs, and you can get a better price maybe, perhaps.
That's very smart. Before we finish up with online experiences with Airbnb, which is also, I think, an optimistic, funny way to finish, you've been mentioning, your plans, and you've been mentioning as well this task management software. So obviously you are an organized person, and I think you're probably able to go into somebody else's businesses and look at what the process is or the money and the rest, and look at where you can sort of transfer this knowledge, right? So am I right to understand that you're doing this kind of online consulting, or for consulting, mostly online nowadays, but consulting for other property managers. So what is it like?
Well, what I see that, and you are correct, that's what I have been doing. As a consultant for many years, I've been helping out small businesses in various fields. Also, I have certification in online marketing, so I had worked on political election projects for local mayors, and then for a good year I had been managing social media for quite a while. So I did have clients from very different areas. And when we come to property management, it's such a simple business model in some sense. It's very easy to look it over, especially because that's what I have been doing as well for years now. So I see the ins and outs and all the tricks. And what I see now is that if you go to any Facebook forums, then one of the loudest voice there is fear, like a massive fear. People are very pessimistic. They are happy to share negative news. And that's okay, I understand, because the social and not the antisocial, the social people spread the bad news the fastest, and that's normal. Because you are social, you want to avoid other people getting into the same shithole where you are. So you just want to avoid you just want to give them the news, like, this is where I had dinner and I got food poisoning, don't go there. That's why in word to word, like mouth to mouth marketing, bad news travel 9 times faster than any other type of news. So it's normal, and I understand it. And that gave me the idea that maybe this is the time where I should start consulting in a bigger, massive, and bigger scale. I should offer some of my time for free. You know, what can you do for others? What helps them the best, the most, and try to solve a problem in their life. And if I can do that, then maybe in the future they will come back to me and ask me for paid consultations. But in this time when there is so much uncertainty and so much fear going around, then maybe this is the period where I can start giving back as well. And I have been doing that in my sport career. It is a mentality I have adopted for many years, that if I want to see a change in my sport, if I want to see more women, for example, participate, because we have 8% participation, then we need to do something. And I'm now also in the very top. So I'm in the top position, the best position where I can make a change. And I'm a sport diplomat for Hungary, internationally attending meetings and working on this as well. So that gave me the idea, maybe in my work and my professional, this can be an area where I can also make a change. And even if I just change 1 or 2 people's lives, that's great. So I have did a trial. I have put up into an American Facebook forum a post that I'm happy to offer 30 minutes of my time and my expertise to whoever needs help the most. Just send me a private message. And it's surprising how many people reached out. And, all the feedbacks I got, they were so happy to get finally answers from someone that it's okay to be afraid. It's normal. Just calm down and do this. And it's so easy for me to just look at their listings and give them some ideas what to do. And they were very happy, and they were busy, finally they had something to do. And that raises your spirits. And once you have stepped out of this fearful mindset, then you can really focus on solutions and finally start producing something.
And I'm going to ask something then, because I hear that you posted this offer in a Facebook group. As you know, Rentals Club has its own Facebook group. I think you're a member of it. That's how we actually connected through the group. Would you be willing to make the same offer to people watching, for example?
Absolutely. Whoever is happy to talk about their own business model, or even if they only have one property, then, we have Zoom. They don't have to leave their houses, and they can share with me the information, the listing, and I'm very happy to look it over.
That's great. So what I'm going to do also below the video, I'll probably make a link for people to easily connect with you. So to finish it up as well, as we understand, you not sitting at home waiting. you were trying out new things, and you've tried out even new Airbnb online experiences, both as a host and as a guest. Can you tell us a bit more about this to finish it up?
Yes, of course. So I have been an avid watcher of all the business news out there. So obviously, when Brian Chesky is going online and putting some news out there, then I'm listening to it, even if it's U.S. time and it's the middle of the night. And when he talked about launching the online experiences, I couldn't go to sleep. I got so excited. I was up till like 6 a.m. And I put together my own experience, what I would be very happy to do. And before the pandemic, I started to give lectures on mental training, mental toughness, and how to conquer fear, how to handle your emotions, and how to adapt everything into your business. So that's what I was doing before, mostly for sport people, but it was interesting that entrepreneurs also found it very interesting. And then I was thinking that why not do this in a 1.5 hour activity where I show them my pictures I have taken from all over the world, racing above amazing landscapes. I can put out my gear, I can show them what how I dress up, how my gear is looking like, and then I can ask them, how you are handling the situation at the moment, and what can I do for you? How can I help you? And my activity is being reviewed at the moment, because I was told that every single picture is viewed by a real person and not a computer software. So it can take 2 weeks, 3 weeks till the activity gets accepted. So I'm very, very excited to see, how it goes, and to start hosting as an online host, an experience. And on the other hand, I have checked what there are already online. And I'm not a big chef in my own home. I travel a lot, and I tend to just go lazy and order food in. Or I socialize and go out for dinner with my friends to a restaurant. And now, not just a lot of other people, that I found in myself in the situation where it would be nice to cook, but I don't know how. So I signed up onto an online experience where we baked Swedish cinnamon rolls together. And I have never done that before, or I don't know when I baked before. Maybe 15 years I haven't been baking, but it was easy. And the best part about it was that it was very interactive. There were people from Canada, a very nice family from the US. There was a tornado watch at the time, so they got cut out. Their internet connection was broken. So we were all wondering, while we were baking there, how are they doing? Are they under now a tornado, or is it going to be a Wizard of Oz situation happening? And then we had people from Italy and Hungary as well. With my sister, we were baking at the background. So it was very nice, that I felt that I moved out. I was socializing without leaving my actual kitchen. So it was very nice.
That's great to hear.
And that's what I would like to suggest to other hosts as well, that you have a space, you have an empty space now, if you haven't been lucky to rent it. If you have an empty space, then look at it from a different angle. Just step back a little bit and have a look. What do you have? You do have a kitchen, you have a huge living room, and look into your skill set. What do you think you could, give back? And how you could also entertain people. If you have any special skills, if you do have any hobby, what you really enjoy, then you can now host an online experience in your home or in your kitchen. A lot of people are looking for new cooking experiences. And I'm also thinking how nice it would be to cook Morocco next week, or I'd like to try sushi with the Japanese the week after. You can actually every single night do something, make sangria with Spanish. So if you don't want an average boring evening meal, you can just very easily and cost effectively log online and do something with other people.
Well, thanks, Adele. I think the do something is really something we take out from this conversation today, right? Do something for your business. We also talk about personal finances, even in trying out new things, going to a longer term stays, or becoming an online experience host with Airbnb. But do something and keep calm. And it's normal to fear, but it's it's better than to take action. I think it's absolutely great. So as I said earlier, we'll put links below the video so people can know how to reach out to you. But really, thank you so much for your time today. And
thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Same here. And I do hope to see you in person very soon then.
Yeah, all we need is open borders, and then we can go wherever we want.
Yeah, we do that. Adel, see you soon.
See you soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.